Hello and welcome to Wulfrum. Boy, have I got a crazy video for you. So last time I tested these two blades, it was the Excalibur, a blade forged out of holy bars from defeated mech bosses, versus the Knight's Edge, a blade of evil, made in pre-hard mode. The difference between the previous two items was about 937 versus 438-ish. So Excalibur was twice as good as the Knight's Edge, and I received some comments that were saying something along the lines of, we should do True Knight's Edge versus True Excalibur, because those are in the same area of progression, so they'll be close, right? Right? This is not close. This is not close at all. This is blowing my brain. Because, like, you think two swords that are made around the same time would be similar in damage. They're the same rarity. There's so much that's similar about them, except for their damage and usability. Just from appearance alone, the True Knight's Edge looks really good. Like, look at this projectile. This thing is huge. It goes for such a long range. It's like one of the few projectiles in the game that actually, instead of going from when you were, it follows where you go. True Excalibur is just a really big broadsword. Like, what's so special about that? So yeah, True Knight's Edge has much better range. And interesting note about the True Excalibur, the front of the blade, which will still follow your cursor, just like the original Excalibur, the front of the hitbox is actually bigger than the backside. You can't aim this down. You can't aim it in any direction, it's either left or right. It's a pretty long range for just a broadsword. You can see clearly that the size of the sword is much smaller than the energy that it creates. So the True Excalibur has a better range. And that's about it. Here are the stats. You can aim True Knight's Edge, you can kind of aim True Excalibur, not really, both auto swing. Damage is actually only 2 higher in the True Excalibur's favor, when they're both legendary, 83 instead of 80. Pretty similar stats. True Excalibur, a little bit higher. Damage spread, you have 68 to 92, not counting the projectile of the True Knight's Edge, which does half damage, but can strike 3 times. It also has the special property of multi-hitting the same enemy. So you'll shoot one projectile at one guy, that dude's standing in the way, and the projectile will hit him 3 times. This can be good, but it can also be bad. This leads to situations where, as you can see in the first dummy test, the True Knight's Edge actually does more damage against a single target. If there's one dude in front of you, True Knight's Edge is just, you're not going to be able to ever get hit by this guy. The projectile is going to be comboing this dude like crazy. The True Knight's Edge can hit 5 targets, but its damage is the same as 3 targets because of one crippling disadvantage: how slow the weapon is. 32 base use time is awful. And also the multi-hit is a double-edged sword. It makes it pretty good against one target, but against more than one target, the second guy, like that in the same test I was talking about, that projectile is going to hit that enemy. But if there's somebody standing behind that enemy behind the first one, that first one's going to act as a meat shield. You're not going to be able to hit the one behind it. I've seen this a lot in the jungle when I was fighting giant tortoises. That first tortoise was just like the most protective bro. He was the hero the enemies behind him didn't deserve, but they needed. While the True Excalibur doesn't give a shit. It's going to hit everyone. True Excalibur can hit up to 6 targets at the same time. Kind of all over the place, I know, but damage spread 68 to 92, 71 to 95. Pretty similar. DPS against one target, as I said, True Knight's Edge is the victor in that regard, but only by a small margin. DPS against 3 targets, True Knight's Edge gets completely blasted. Its damage only gets a few hundred higher, while the True Excalibur triples in damage, because it's hitting everybody equally. It doesn't care. That first enemy's getting blasted. Everybody behind him is fairly safe. True Excalibur, he'll hit your whole family at the same time. 5 targets, yep, the True Knight's Edge is going to max out. All the future tests are going to be the exact same. True Excalibur is hitting even more targets. It's happy to do so. Damage increases to 1700 to 2150. And then against 10 targets, it can hit a 6th target, which is not present in the 5 target test. So the 10 targets gets a little bit higher, but not as big of a jump as these other tests. 1950 to 2600 is where it caps out for the last 3 tests, which is the most insane DPS that we've tested so far on the entire show. Here's the Fetid Bagneck stats, which is the next highest that we've seen so far, and 1330 to 1450 pales in comparison to the power of the True Excalibur. This thing is doing 2k damage consistently. Sun Fury was actually getting kind of close, but that's because it was hitting 9 targets. I just cannot overstate how good the True Excalibur is and how bad the True Knight's Edge is. Average DPS, the only number that matters, 659.16 for the True Knight's Edge, 1708.33 for the True Excalibur. Knockback, pretty similar, but True Knight's Edge is slightly higher. Crit strike chance, exact same. Use time, 32 is really slow, while 18 is fast. Although the True Knight's Edge projectile is technically faster in the game's code. But since The projectile is connected to a sword swing. I don't think that actually matters. Rarity, sell, research, best reforge, and internal ID are all the exact same. Or they're equal, I guess I should say. Boy howdy, would you look at this tier list. We have a new king in town. True Excalibur beats outfitted Bagnecks by 500 nearly. It is the new, undisputed rank 1 item that we've covered on the channel so far. While True Knight's Edge can't even beat the Dark Lance, being 70 damage lower. And reflected in the letter grade, I just personally really do not like using the True Knight's Edge. It's such a good hitbox, and it's such a good range projectile, but how it works is so frustrating. I want to clear out a whole group of enemies. Like, piercing is so important, and only hitting 3 times, technically 5 times, but like, it's so slow that it doesn't matter. As you can see right here, regular Excalibur is more powerful than the True Knight's Edge. Still, by like 400 or 300 in like 280, I guess? This is disgusting. I need a shower after this video. Well, I hope we all had fun here. I mean, I used both of these blades in my playthrough, and I mean, I could have told you myself, the True Excalibur is way more satisfying to use. This thing is just, they buffed it, they need to buff it way more. It sucks. It really sucks. They need to fix this. True Knight's Edge, ID number 675. Bam. True Excalibur, 674. Bam. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, hit subscribe, and if you have any suggestions, post them in the comments and I'll do them. Ideas for versus videos, that is. Although I would take other ideas as well, I guess. Thank you very much for watching, Wulfrum. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.